Hi guys, it's the Gooncast. Fucking enjoy it.
Yes, hi, hello, fuck you, Gooncast, whatever, I don't give a shit, I'm James.
They came from the stars! Writhing tentacles and a billion eyes!
They came in the stars.
I also came.
Everybody's coming. What's up, everybody? It's me, CavTech, aka, that's me on Twitch. Dialogue designer by day, writer / horror enthusiast by night.
Yeah, kicking off the next season, it's your boy Lee Alder. They call me the Valley Jester. And we have a guest here with us today. A returning goon, if I do recall correctly.
Drumroll, please.
It's me.
It's Rentsy.
Yeah,
The
number one
alleged
fan of the
beauty.
Gooncast.
Hell
The number
yeah.
one fan. That's me.
Hell yeah.
Hi.
How you doing, man?
I'm
It's
here.
been It's been a hot minute.
No idea what you mean.
I think you were last on for
Remakes, last year.
Was it- Oh, okay.
Sequels.
Yes. Oh my god,
The
yeah.
revengeancing.
Quite it's been a hot minute. So
The reanimating? Huh?
Ah.
Alright, I earned my paycheck.
Bye, Lee.
Yeah, later, nerds.
Yeah, I mean, so we've got a very at least Stuart Gordon adjacent, if not fully Stuart Gordon episode for y'all today. We're doing some fun cosmic horror movies.
Or as I sold
which-
it to Rentsy, pervert horror.
Pervert horror. Yeah, I mean that is yeah. Now, granted, we didn't watch some of the worse, like, Brian Usna movies that I'm like, no, I don't want to see that.
No,
shit.
Cal, we're saving that for later. We've been over this.
I know we are.
Hey,
but
Rentsy,
these
you
are
want to watch
actually
some garbage later?
What is this garbage entitled to?
You'll figure it out.
You know,
Yeah.
such classics as Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toy Maker.
Oh yeah. Gotta
Okay.
avoid those that pedo family.
Yeah.
Anyway. So yeah, I don't know, how do we want to kick this off? We watched two films today. I guess the real through line is Barbara Crampton.
Yes.
Because yeah,
And,
100%.
and also, what's his face? The guy who wrote them. Because it's the
Yes.
same writer across both movies as well. And I think
Yeah, is
even Brian
Yeah,
Usna was a
it's-
producer in this as well too.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're both written by Dennis Paoli.
Okay.
Yeah. Like
And
it's
then, I mean, the source material through line is they're both H.P. Lovecraft adaptations.
yeah.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes. Also that.
As far as I could tell, like most
favorite
of the crew, or a large percentage of the crew are actually Gordon regulars.
Yeah. Yeah. So, do we want to start with new hotness, or do we want to go
The new
back
one.
to the 80s?
We'll go with the new one because that's the one we
Okay.
were looking forward to, and we were crushingly middled by.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, I think, yeah, the big thing for me is that I follow Barbara Crampton on, like, Twitter, and, so I saw a bunch of, posts about, like, ooh, this movie's coming out to Shudder very, very soon, and, it was very exciting. I was pumped for it. It was very much hailed as sort of, like, a return to, the classics, like a return to form for, like, hey, this was originally going to be a Stuart Gordon movie, but unfortunately he's not around anymore to make these, so we're just gonna, like, kind of do it in his honor sort of thing.
Mhm.
And I was like, hell yeah, that sounds awesome. And then we watched it, and it was kind of just okay to, like, not great.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Oh.
risk sounding completely pretentious right now, but I feel like I have to say it since we're doing a double whammy of Lovecraft material.
Uh-huh.
As a self-professed fantasy horror enthusiast, they are my favorite genres, and Lovecraft, for all his delightful faults, is one of my favorite writers of all time. I
Yep, same.
fundamentally disagree with adapting his material to the screen.
Okay.
And so I understand I am very much I'm a prissy bitch when it comes to Lovecraft movies.
Uh-huh.
So it's hard to impress me with these.
I think I would say I agree with you, but then the fact that Color Out of Space exists and is as good as it is kind of like,
That's
you
like
know?
probably the closest we got. That or
Yeah.
Cthulhu from I think it was 2007 or something,
Right, yeah.
where that one was trying to be more of like a commentary about homophobia
Yeah,
and
well, see, here's the thing. The thing I like when when a Lovecraft adaptation is made, the thing I like is when it's not directly one to one.
yes.
So that's why Reanimator is one of my favorite movies of all time, because they took Lovecraft's like worst, most fucking racist story, which is saying something, and they turned it into something that was like really fun, you know? Like it was basically just a play on Frankenstein, but you know, through this kind of like alternative character who is literally just a Dr. Frankenstein ripoff. So yeah, for that reason, because I saw back in the day, back in like high school, or no, sorry, college, when I first saw Reanimator, I saw like reviews of Reanimator from people being like, ugh, this isn't like the Lovecraft story, like it's not even an adaptation really. It's so bad at what it tries to do adapting Lovecraft. I'm like, are you really actually mad that they didn't actually like one to one adapt the story where like I'm sorry, I'm not gonna get into what
No.
happens in Reanimator, but like it gets really fucking racist, guys. Like I don't want to see that shit on screen because it's shit.
I salivate at the thought of H.P. Lovecraft being an established writer in the social media age. Oh my god, him defending himself on Twitter would be the fucking greatest.
Oh
Like,
my
so,
god.
when you said in your interview on Ellen last week that your inspiration for your books was, quote, the Jews, what did you mean? I meant, I don't like the Jews. Oh, I see. Thank you, Mr. Lovecraft.
Mm.
Subtlety's dead, folks.
Um so yeah, Suitable Flash is our first movie that we're talking about. And yeah, basically it
How do we kick this one off?
I know.
I
I'm like,
want Rentsy to
so-
describe what he witnessed because Rentsy
Yeah.
doesn't watch pervert horror all that often.
yeah,
The devil made me do it.
the devil.
All right, Rentsy, what happened in Suitable Flesh?
A lot of things happened. Sex.
Mhm.
You know, they're like kind of changing bodies.
Yeah.
It's going from one body to the other.
Did they happen
it
to
was
do it
okay.
while nutting?
Yeah, there was while nutting too. I can't believe I forgot that detail.
Yeah, you can't forget
was-
the soul
that was
swap
crucial.
nut.
Yeah.
Yes, the Eldritch nut. What else happens?
Yeah, come on, Rentsy.
No, why are you putting this on me?
Because you're our guest.
Well,
All right, I'm reaching
okay.
out for the hot tag. Tag me in, brother.
Yeah.
Tag him in.
Oh yeah, coming on in hot.
All right, this means he has
Yeah,
to describe From Beyond then.
Oh shit.
So Suitable Flesh came out last year.
Mhm.
It's an adaptation of The Thing on the Doorstep, which for all the Lovecraft I read, that was not one of the stories that I always like thought back on. It's a part of the Cthulhu mythos, but it was one that always kind of seemed like on the sidelines, like not a B piece, because it was I've read it and it's actually very, very fucking good.
Yeah. It's just not. It's not as gripping as some of the other ones. It doesn't stick
Right.
with you. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. This adaptation follows a similar premise in that body swapping is still like the main focal point of the horror. But this one takes a couple liberties and changes a few of the characters, and takes it in more of like a grindhousey direction almost. It kind of makes you feel like it's one of those movies that it's either far side of the scale trying to be way more artistic than it kind of has a right to be, or then it
Mhm.
goes like total schlock and just trying to like make you feel uncomfortable. And I feel like it
Mhm.
kept ping-ponging between the two and kind of got lost in the
Y-
shuffle.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to describe it because yeah, ultimately like it tries to I feel like it tried to be um like as gross as, you know, From Beyond or some of the other like Brian Usna joints, but like it was almost too restrained where I was
Mhm.
like, you know, whereas those I mean, we'll get into it when we talk about From Beyond, but some of those earlier
We'll talk
ones
about From Beyond.
we'll talk about From Beyond. Um some of those earlier ones like even though there's a sense of dread in them, like even though the stuff that's happening is like bananas and it's just like, you know, throwing body parts at, it's all like body horror of the like most grotesque variety. But there's still this element of like, oh, you don't, you know, like you don't really know what's going to happen to the characters. They are going into the unknown just as much as you are, and you're kind of like, shit, guys, like maybe pump the brakes, maybe don't turn the machine on that fucking
Yeah.
like you know like that fucks with your brain chemistry.
Maybe stop
But
injecting dead bodies with your radioactive ecto cooler.
yeah, exactly. You know,
Never.
like and
I've only seen good things happen as a result of that. Puppet Master cranked out a whole dozen fucking shitty movies about animating stuff with radioactive green stuff.
hell yeah, hell yeah. But yeah, Suitable Flesh, like at a certain point, once you kind of get to the hey, it's a body swap horror thing. There's, you know, this creepy old guy who's trying to live forever essentially and figures out how to, you know, transfer his consciousness into his like grandson. Once you get to that point, everything else like happens extremely predictably.
Mm-hmm.
It
I
it
think there
happens
was
predictably and also very fast, and also to the point where like characters have to start being really stupid.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's just kind of like nothing that happens feels like, oh, this person is, you know, really tempting fate here. It just kind of feels like, why is she going to this house right now? Why, like, you know, like why did she come here? And like, you know, to the point where I think there was a stretch of the movie that was maybe like 45 minutes long where none of us said anything. Like we were all watching it together in a group, you know, like watch party thing, and we were just like quiet, which only happens one of two times. When the
Exactly.
movie is so fucking good, we're just like enthralled by it, which is what happened with like the Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Yeah.
Or when the movie is like just so nothing that there's nothing for us to latch onto for like either like making fun of or commentary or anything. And that's what happened with Suitable Flesh, which I like hate to say because I love seeing Barbara Crampton on screen again, but it just didn't, you know, it
Yeah,
didn't
when the
quite
only
land for
things
me.
breaking the silence are the occasional like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That's usually not a great sign.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of went into this expecting pure schlock,
Yeah.
and it dips its toes into schlock, but it didn't go far enough for me.
Yeah, it gets schlock adjacent.
It also dips its toes into kink, but doesn't get nearly kinky enough. It's like
No,
it's kind
From
of it's
Beyond
kind
was
of like
kinkier.
yeah, exactly. It does all of these things where it's like, ooh, let me like, you know, like put a pinky toe in it, but then it doesn't actually like commit to anything. And you know, I mean, I remember us. I think when we started talking again, finally, was when like there was the body swap moment where like the kid, uh, uh, she like, you know, basically like brutalized him with her car, which was a really like well shot scene.
Yeah.
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 But then yeah, and then he's like in the like morgue basically, like almost like effectively dead, I think, but not quite dead. And then they body swap with each other, so she's stuck in his like dead body that she like created and trying to like crawl her way through the hospital. And I'm like, that's fucking cool, Why wasn't that more of the movie? But then by that point, I was already just like, just wrap it up, guys. Like, I'm done. Like, I'm not enjoying this anymore. I'm just like, I'm bored.
Yeah, I've gone on record on the Gooncast before, kind of giving my opinion on this, but like I am so in favor of anytime horror and like eroticism get mixed together. I think it's like
Mhm.
peanut butter and jelly. It's a perfect fucking
Yeah.
combination. And what's interesting is that I don't think a lot of Lovecraft's work went in that direction, but
No.
a lot of his adaptations push that boundary and start to incorporate that more. And I don't know if that's because like it took off during like the 80s boom and that was just the product of the time.
It might
But
be a combination of a couple of things because
Mhm.
I know, like, I think there is a subtext in Lovecraft's work where you can interpret it as sort of this, like, you, it's essentially pushing what he was kind of afraid of, right? Like, he was
Right.
really not a people person at all. So it's like that kind of level of intimacy was not something he wrote about, but it is
Right.
something I feel like that kind of comes through a little sometimes in his
Mhm.
work, where it's just like it's this fear of the unknown also means other people in some
Mhm.
instances, and you can play on that, and I think that's kind of where the like like hypersexualized body horror comes in, which I dig a lot also.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
I love Clive
like
Barker. Like he's the
yeah,
fucking master of that.
yes, exactly. I mean, and he's very, like what it says on the tin. Like he is not like, there's no subtext is for cowards as far as
Yeah,
Clive
yeah,
Barker
no.
is
Yeah.
concerned.
I got 400 pages of blood and wieners right here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He'll tone things down for film slightly, but only slightly.
Mhm.
And by that I mean like he cuts out the ejaculation scene in Hellraiser.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
Which is why, objectively speaking, Hellbound Heart is just the greatest. But yeah, we start to touch on some taboo ideas here. Our main character, Elizabeth, is a psychiatrist, and she gets approached by this younger guy named Asa, I believe, who is tripping out. He doesn't know at this point that he's like exactly to my understanding, I can't remember if he doesn't recall if he's the victim of this body swapping thing. But he's constantly hearing voices and fighting for control with his grandfather. Um, and she did not abide by the code of ethics, and
Yeah.
her CCAP credentials have been nullified. And yeah, the two of them get into this lust-ridden, inappropriate relationship that, like you were saying, starts to touch on some of those ideas of like, oh, okay, now we're going to slip into the taboo a bit, and then it just feels
Yeah.
like it doesn't pull the trigger.
No, exactly. It's it's trying to do the sort of like forbidden angle, but like yeah, they don't push it nearly far enough. It's just kind
Hmm.
of like, it happens and then you're like, "Oh, she fantasizes about fucking him while she's with her husband." And you're just kind of like, "That was pretty tame all things considered." Like
Yeah.
and then that's about as far as it goes too, where it's just kind of like that's it. um
It was nice to see Heather Graham again, though.
yeah, that was I remember commenting that like I'm always really she's somebody who like I feel like just doesn't age. Like I feel like
Yeah.
every time I see her she looks amazing for I think she's like 40 something.
She still looks like she did in The Spy Who Shagged Me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, damn girl, like what are you doing?
I was trying to picture where do I remember her from, and there you go.
Austin
Yeah.
Powers, baby. That's right.
There you go.
What was her name? Felicity Shagwell, I think.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Shagwell by name, Shag very well by reputation. And then, of course, the one of the ruling queens of horror herself, Barbara Crampton,
Oh, yes.
who, again, is kind of the through line of these two movies.
Mhm.
I adore her. She
She
gets a spot on like the Gooncast Mount Rushmore of just
uh-huh.
like
Yeah.
I'll watch anything this woman's in.
Yes, same. Like she no and she's also one of those actors who no matter the film, she always turns in a brilliant performance.
Yeah.
You know, like I had some I had some like hang-ups with Jacob's wife. Mostly the ending, but she's brilliant through the entire thing. And even there was this like terrible like found footage horror movie she was in that was like she was like the realtor that like or either the realtor or like the Airbnb like owner or something like that who shows up for like a 20-minute scene before getting killed off. And it's just like I saw you see her and you're just like, oh my god, it's Barbara Crampton, and you're just like she's just brilliant on screen immediately. Where you're like nobody else in the film is doing anything, but she comes on and she's actually doing something, and then she dies horribly, and you're like, that's what I like to see, girl. So yeah, I mean, and she's fine in this, but she doesn't have a lot to work with, I feel like. She gets like one again like almost kinky scene with Heather Graham where it gets like so close, and then it's just kind of like whatever, some guys show up and she's like, oh, I'll fuck you guys instead. It's like yeah, it's just kind of like, all right, well, I guess, you know.
It's not even so much that like I want to watch something that's like exploitive. I actually
No.
get really uncomfortable with shit like that.
So do I.
But
Yeah.
if you are gonna do this, commit.
Exactly.
Just fucking commit.
That's the thing. It's like I was ready, like, because here's the thing. When you hear the title Suitable Flesh and you see the posters, you're like, okay, I'm gonna get ready to be uncomfortable. Like, I'll get into this a little bit when I get into From Beyond, but like From Beyond, one of the reasons it's not like, because like I watched it almost right after I watched Reanimator, and I will rewatch Reanimator all the time, but I don't always rewatch From Beyond because I think From Beyond is a little bit more exploitative in certain ways, or a little bit more like it's not really like, it's uncomfortable to watch. There's a lot of stuff with it that's uncomfortable. And so I came into this movie being like, I'm ready to be uncomfortable. You know, I think that's the kind of thing where I'm like, I like body horror that pushes me into a space where I'm like, oh god, like I'm actually thinking about my body, and like just like it's like a safe way to experience that kind of thing. And this one just like it again, it comes very close to things here and there, but then it just doesn't fully commit, where it's just kind of like it's like ooh, we're gonna tease you. Like, I'm fine with like being teased with kinky stuff because, and again, I feel like From Beyond does it better, where it's like it doesn't go fully like into sexploitation stuff.
Right.
But it gets just far enough that you're uncomfortable, and then you're relieved when it's like, oh, thank God, nothing happened. Instead of like Suitable Flesh, which kind of just got like halfway there and then gave up and expected us to feel that same level of like, oh, phew, you know, like
yeah, it's like the movie's like giving you empty threats. It's like, I'll
Yeah,
do
yes.
it. I'll go there, and we're going, okay, yeah, go there. And it goes, nah, maybe I shouldn't.
Exactly.
The movie, on that note, like, the movie felt like getting blue-balled by a hand job.
Yeah,
Sure.
I got
Yeah.
teased. I got tantalized.
Yeah.
You did.
A little slap and tickle, but
Yeah.
The
I
Saber
want my
special.
money's worth.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the big thing, is it's like it felt like it made promises that it did not deliver.
It made promises.
Yeah.
It made
sultry
hand
promises.
It made sultry, disgusting, pervert promises.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, yeah, but we're not really pervert horror. But it's like,
It promised you a
"But
good
you
time.
are."
It promised you a good time and then fell asleep mid-thrust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
There
then
you go.
I hate to drag a name through the dirt, but like Heather Graham's killing it, Barbara Crampton's killing it. Ace's actor Judah Lewis was just not hitting for me.
Yeah, he was a little flat for me.
I liked when he was acting as Heather. I thought he did a decent job there.
Yeah.
But every other part of his performance, I was just kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah, you're trying to play that character that's like the unhinged yet there's something charming and like alluring about you kind of villain.
Yeah. Yes.
Like who I think would nail the exact tone he's going for is Cameron Monaghan,
Oh, yeah.
like who played Joker in Gotham.
Yeah.
Like he's got that young boyish air about him, but he
Mhm.
can turn the psycho switch on real
Yeah.
quick.
Yes.
And I feel
Yeah.
like that's what this actor was trying to harness, and
Mhm.
I don't know, it just didn't deliver for me.
Yeah.
Also, all right, I'll go there. Yeah, it's pretty bold to cast a guy named Judah in an H.P. Lovecraft adaptation.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, sure.
I'll be here all week, folks. You thought we'd have an H.P. Lovecraft episode not carpet bomb with racism jokes? Come on.
No.
Yeah.
Back at it again with the Fishmen.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I will say that like I've seen the Judah's in the 2 babysitter movies from Netflix.
Oh, I never saw those.
Yeah, I haven't seen either of those.
Me neither.
He's really good in them.
I saw that he's in Summer of '84 as well, which I have seen, but I don't remember him in it.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that too, and I also don't remember him in it. But he's playing opposite Samara Weaving, who is
Oh,
also
well, I
brilliant,
mean,
you know.
Yeah.
yeah.
But so it's just like he does a really good job there. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I agree with you that I just think he didn't quite nail the when he's pretending when he's taken over by Grandpa. It's like not there for me at all.
Yeah.
And that's I think the thing that's supposed to be the thing that like kind of like draws her to him is that kind of danger, you know, like it's supposed to be like, ooh, that's the temptation, and you're just like, how are you getting tempted by this?
Yeah.
Like, girl, raise your standards.
Yeah.
I realize your husband isn't doing it for you, but come on now.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah. It's yeah. So
my TLDR is like it's got a pretty engaging final 20 minutes maybe.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's towed along by the 2 performances by Heather Graham and Barbara Crampton.
Mhm.
And other than that, I feel like it was just a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm glad they're still doing cosmic horror stuff. Sure, keep it coming
Yeah.
if you want to commit, but you got to commit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Rentsy, how do you have any final thoughts on Suitable Flesh?
I went into it thinking Suitable Flesh sounds like a porn type of film.
Yeah.
And then when I was just seeing like all this stuff going on, I'm like, huh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I did like the body swapping stuff. Some of the acting could have been a little bit better from Asa's side.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, the little backup camera section of the movie, that one was pretty cool. I really thought that was really neat.
Yeah, that was clever.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that in a movie before. That was clever.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Yeah, but overall, don't really have much to go on with. I'm gonna rewatch it again though, just to get more out of it and see anything that I probably just missed.
On that note, I watched it again with our friend Gulguts, who's also a big H.P. Lovecraft fan. And I did not tell him my thoughts about the movie when I saw it. He was like, "Oh, if you're watching it with me after you've seen it, you must really like it, right?" I was like, "Well, hold on there, bud." And then he watched it. He was like, "Yeah, so I guess this continues our streak of mostly watching garbage or mid."
Yeah,
he was also colossally disappointed by it as well.
Yeah.
It's a weird movie. Like, I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's maybe a little barbarian because like it has some wild, wacky shit, but it doesn't even go far enough. Yeah, but it doesn't even go far enough to be barbarian.
yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It's like
we needed more Eldritch nut.
Yeah, like when
enough.
our original barbarian was barbarian, and then my barbarian from last year being fucking incest eel porn. It's like you gotta earn it,
Yeah.
You don't just waltz into the barbarian award.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like
you don't just say, "Oh, look at our pedigree. We like this was originally a Stuart Gordon. Give us all the awards." I was like, but it's not Stuart Gordon.
No, yeah, I guess the one thing I can like my own final thoughts on it are like it's neat that it's kind of like a bit more kinky and it's like a gender swapped telling of the thing at the doorstep. Mm-hmm. Other than that, though, it's like, I mean, Heather Graham's great. Barbara Crampton is always great. The body horror was not body horror-y enough.
Yeah.
I need more Eldritch nut.
Agreed. Yeah. And I mean, yeah. Again, the bar is pretty high because the movie we're about to talk about, and also like Color Out of Space had some intense body horror.
Yeah.
And that's kind of yeah.
And like even for like Lovecraft adjacent, because it's like it's not directly based off of a Lovecraft story, like it doesn't even like do the cool wacky badass shit that In the Mouth of Madness does.
Yeah.
Like it's just kind of, I'm happy that there's another H.P. Lovecraft adaptation, but
yeah, it's pretty far down the list.
Yeah. Anyways, let's talk about skinny dicks bursting from your forehead. Rentsy, tell me about this movie that you said you didn't remember anything about.
From Beyond, an H.P. Lovecraft type of movie, directed by the Stuart Gordon man himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually doing a rewatch right before this too. Yeah, early on you do get like some not tentacle monster, but it's like an eel type of monster just appears. You have the scientists, developing some machine. What's it called? The resonator.
The resonator, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's where they start seeing all these beyond normal things that come out from there, and you have just the monsters coming out, or it seems like what is it like? Not illusions. I'm probably describing it very wrong. I'm not too familiar with H.P. Lovecraft myself.
No, it's fine. All you need to know about H.P. Lovecraft, I mean, you played Bloodborne, so all you really need to know is horrible alien monsters and fish people and the fear of the unknown, and all these adaptations cut out the racism.
Yeah, yes.
Is this true?
This is 100% true.
Yeah, the implication was that those monsters are always around us, but the resonator is like amplifying your senses to be able to detect things that the normal human senses can't perceive.
Yeah,
exactly. Specifically, it's like enlarging a part of the
pineal
brain.
gland.
The pineal gland, yes, which also means you're very, very horny.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, do they get horny.
Yes.
Yeah, this is it's funny that you said Suitable Flesh sounds like a porno, and then we get Barbara Crampton walking around in BDSM gear in the next film.
Yep.
God bless her.
Yeah.
God bless her.
But yeah, it's the second Stuart Gordon Lovecraft adaptation. I had not seen this before. It wasn't Reanimator.
Yeah.
I like Reanimator more, but I fucking love Jeffrey Combs, and I love Barbara Crampton and Ken Foree, and I thought it was really, really strong and weird and bizarre, although I wish that the version we watched was the uncut one, god damn it!
I know. I was shocked because I remember being very shook by it in college when I first saw it, because there's full frontal in some scenes, and I was like, whoa. And then we watched it and I was just like, wait, it never happened. I was just huh?
And I'd seen Red Letter Media's review on it, and I distinctly remember from the review the scene where like Jeffrey Combs attacks the doctor lady and he's like biting her face, And I remember in the review, they show him like spit out her eyeball and then continue to suck her brains. And like, oh, cool, I'm finally going to get to see that in the movie. And the movie cuts like right before that happens. Like, wait, what the fuck? What?
Oh,
Why?
no.
Why?
Yeah.
Why you do this to me?
Yeah.
Amazon?
So Amazon does not have the unrated version for Rent. But
For me.
it's only about like, I think it's less than 5 minutes cut from the film, but it's a good 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a fucked up 5 minutes. And to your point, yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I love Reanimator, and I will rewatch it, or I used to rewatch it like all the time, because it's just a fun movie. It's very well constructed. It has a lot of like, it's got a lot of really fun relationships and interactions. It's very lean. Like there's no fat in that fucking film, It's like 80 minutes or something, and it's just like boom boom boom. We have things to do. Fuck you. And I think that like having watched From Beyond again now, I think From Beyond is technically the better movie, right? Like it's very clear that like their like special effects and like puppeteering work is so much better compared to like the cat from Reanimator. It's clear that they like learned like some new techniques, some new stuff. But I do like From Beyond less, like as an experience, just because it gets a little bit more into the pervert horror, which means it's more uncomfortable, which means it's less of a like, hey, yeah, like we could just throw this on kind of thing. And not that Reanimator doesn't touch on that stuff, but it touches on it in a way that's a little bit more like a little bit less uncomfortable. I'll say that. That's just my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I think that this one was. I don't want to say it was trying to be too much of like a Hollywood picture, because I mean it's still B grade, like delicious schlock.
Mm-hmm.
But it falls into a lot of the traps that I feel like horror movies of the time were trying to do, like build into a massive third act, and we have to place a bomb on the resonator, and it's a race against the clock kind of thing. And like the story that this is based off of it's kind of regarded as one of Lovecraft's like least impressive stories.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have a really strong ending. Like if I recall the ending of the story correctly, he just shoots the resonator like with a pistol.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, a lot of his endings tend to just be like, I was driven mad, and then I just like,
and that's
a lot of the endings are. Yeah, like he's not like, I mean, he's not Stephen King levels of bad endings, but he is very like, if you read a Lovecraft story, it's about a 50-50 chance that you'll get guy goes mad at the end versus any other ending.
Not to mention, to my understanding, the first 5 minutes of this movie is the adaptation of the novella, and everything else is basically just original content.
Correct, yeah. Because it's very again, I watched it like pretty shortly after I read the short story, because I rented this through Netflix, and I was like, well, I've got to see how they adapted it. And literally you get through that opening scene and you're like, oh, that's the end. Like
credits.
What else is gonna happen? And turns out a lot. Which is the good stuff in the movie, to be fair.
Yeah.
That's all where, Barbara Crampton's character is basically like wholly original. Like her whole thing is, Lovecraft didn't really write women.
No.
So
and if he did, they were fish people.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
Yeah, did you get a skinny dick?
Yeah.
On your forehead?
You get a dick burst out of your forehead. Because, yeah.
I feel like this movie delivered on something that we were being very critical about Suitable Flesh with, which was this one was not afraid to go to those tantalizing places.
No, it was not.
It was willing to deliver. It started promising getting weird, and it's like, okay, buckle in. Like, I'm gonna get weird. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, like, how weird are you gonna get? Like, yeah, like your safe word is flesh. Like,
Yeah.
buckle up, kid. Here we go.
Yeah, exactly. It was there were a lot of I think too that even though like the establishment of these characters was probably shorter than the way they were established in Suitable Flesh, like you just felt more tense for them. You know, like
Right.
it was more clear that Barbara Crampton, like like she was not an ethical doctor, right? Like that other lady doctor immediately starts like bitching her out when she's trying to like, grab Jeffrey Combs' character to take him back to the house. She's immediately like, you're fucking unethical. Like, you're gonna kill this guy. You're gonna do, like all of this stuff. And you're just like, okay, that's cool. Like, let's, like how is that going to kind of manifest? And then you're seeing all these things where it's like, okay, how in control of stuff is she? Like how much of this is her own kind of desire to like really push the boundaries of science versus this machine is kind of fucking with them versus what's his face? The guy who got sucked in the machine first.
Pretorius.
Thank you. Whether it's like Pretorius's influence or not. And it's just like you feel so much more like there's so much more danger that's happening because you feel for even the cop that gets introduced like just like he's like, hey,
motherfucking four.
Yeah. Like even him where he's like literally there's like a 2-minute thing where he's just like, I'm your ride and like I'm gonna keep an eye on you guys so nothing bad happens. That's his whole fucking intro, and you're just like the whole time you're like, I hope nothing bad happens to this guy.
Yeah.
Like it's like, but that they're all in this fucking haunted house, trapped in this haunted house together, and shit's going to go down. You're just tense waiting what's gonna happen.
It helps the fact that like all three of our leads in Suitable Flesh are very, very talented character actors and B-movie actors. And Stuart Gordon, again, no offense to the director from Suitable Flesh. I have not seen much of his stuff. I don't even remember most of his stuff. But like Stuart Gordon can get performances out of people. Yeah. Right? So it's like even though Ken Foree's introduction is just like, hey, I'm the cop and I'm your ride to the house. The fact that he's played by Ken Foree and just the way he's directed and the way he's written makes us care for him. And we don't want to see anything happen to him. And then he gets charisma. And then he gets eaten by bees.
Yes. And then bees.
It's even like Jeffrey Combs. It's like we feel so bad for him, and then he grows a skinny dick. He starts eating people's eyes.
Yeah, and you're like, oh god, like
yeah.
I think that's the thing is like for most of these Lovecraft adaptations, there's always or like for a lot of these like stories, it's kind of about the people that like like yes, the people who the mad scientists or whatever who are like let's try to punch God, and you're like, don't punch God. That sounds really dangerous. It's not really about them. Like they're not the only interesting thing that's happening on screen, but it's also like you need that cast of like completely unwilling victims that are just like, minding their own fucking business and then get sucked into, the fucking, the color or something like that, right? Where it's just like, hey, none of these, those poor alpacas didn't ask for this, but now they're fucking,
Yeah, the poor security guard and reanimator just wanted to sit at his desk and read porn.
Yeah, exactly.
Wasn't getting paid enough to deal with zombies.
You need those people, and that's like part of what Suitable Flesh lacked is like there was never any sort of like, oh no, this person's going to get wrapped up in this.
Yeah, like there was a little bit of that with the husband, but it didn't go anywhere.
It did, exactly, a little bit, but mostly it was like you just kind of felt bad for him because you were like, well, she wants to leave him clearly.
Yeah.
And it's just like, all right, well, I'm like, I don't know.
She wants to leave him clearly, and then Asa awakens kinks within him.
Yes, yeah, that's
and
right.
That's the end of his character arc.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that's part of it, is that like if it had been more like, because they kind of just like turned it and made him like more of a like, oh, I was actually, turns out I'm into that, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, he's no longer the innocent bystander then, like he he doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah.
He's just like doing his own thing.
He just
But it
wants to
doesn't-
go
it's-
again.
Yeah, exactly. It has nothing to do with what's actually like the horror that's actually happening. right?
Also,
So it's just like-
I don't, not to cycle back to Suitable Flesh because we're on From Beyond, but one thing I forgot to
Sorry.
mention, I don't understand how that final body swap occurred, because I was always under the impression that from the movie, based on the rules, right, that the victim had to be within earshot, not you're down in the morgue and the other person's like
At home.
in a padded cell a bajillion miles away. I don't.
I
Tell me
think
about it.
I think the rules were really unclear. I remember also commenting on like, because there was the when the grandpa Eldritch nutted into Heather Graham's character, and then they like that's how the swap happened. Then she goes home and fucks her husband, and I was like, wait, shouldn't they swap?
Yeah,
That didn't happen, and I was
That
like,
would've been
No, you
wild.
have to like say an incantation or something.
yeah, but like
While
how much
you're
more
Eldritch
interest-
nutting.
how much more well but that's the thing, that's not what happened when it happened the first time, and so it's just like, what are the rules here?
that would have
Yeah,
been
it's
neat
inconsistent.
if that would have been neat though if like they soul swap when Asa was fucking the husband, and then afterwards the husband was like, "Hey babe, I was actually really into that. Let's do that again."
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
yeah.
I mean,
Like-
really,
exactly.
do you need rules when you come so hard that your soul literally leaves your body?
Maybe.
But that's the thing. That's the thing. We could have had a movie where that was the rest of the movie was just people Eldritch nutting in each other, and I'm
Fuck
like,
yeah.
that would have been hilarious and
Yeah,
and weird. And instead they were just like, oh, never mind about that.
dude, the movie.
I'm just gonna see. I'm
I'm
see what-
sold.
The movie could have ended in an Eldritch nut gangbang. Imagine all the soul
Oh,
swapping.
where's
Yes.
the evil soul? It'd be
Yes.
like a game of Shell where you
Dude,
got the
have
cups
it-
and the ball.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it just ends in an orgy. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
So you don't know who the killer is. Oh,
Uh-huh.
that's
Yeah.
so good.
Uh-huh. Yeah, see? All right.
Shit. I mean, like, just to bring us back onto From Beyond, like,
Yes.
it's a formula that historically works really well for me. One of my favorite horror movies of all time is The Legend of Hell House from the 70s, based on the Richard Matheson
You're
book.
goddamn right.
Because it's just, here is a location that is fixed with a very small handful of people, like 3 or 4 is my sweet spot.
Yeah.
And you start to give a shit about these people, and then you just watch over the course of the entire movie as their sanity degrades.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we were really getting into that with From Beyond. And as much as I like the schlocky nature of it, I almost would have liked a little more restraint. I almost wanted it to slow burn a little bit more. And I think that's just a personal preference of like, I like the slower burn Legend of Hell House kind of thing.
Yeah.
Let me slow burn a little bit more before you let Ken Foray get devoured by ghost bees. But I feel like it kept wanting to get to that next major set piece or next major like holy shit moment.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's I think Stuart Gordon, again, like Reanimator, there's no fat in there. No, there's no, you don't have time to,
You can't trim 5 minutes off Reanimator.
Yeah, exactly. We don't sit and like think about the consequences of what just happened. We're going, like we're on our way, baby. I think that's kind of just like his style is just like he doesn't do slow burn. He's just go. Which I think works really well for Reanimator. I agree though that like I think From Beyond like maybe could have used a little bit more of that. I think that yeah, like I am very much, I mean, a bunch of people have mentioned this about me where my tastes are, it's either the like shittiest garbage you've ever seen or like the most pretentious like high-end art house bullshit like ever. and nothing in between kind of thing.
Yeah,
So,
give me a found footage movie that was made for $100 on a camcorder, or give me Mad God.
yeah, yes, exactly. So like, while I really like the kind of like, there's like this ghost story movie that had that was like, took place in a house that was like really ridiculously slow burn that I loved, but also I'll take, House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah.
Both versions.
Fuck yeah.
So like, I'm like, I feel like From Beyond is like a nice middle ground. I think that it doesn't,
Sure.
it doesn't quite nail everything it's going for, but also it's not boring.
No, it
Right?
played to the strengths of the filmmaker. It's like,
Exactly.
hey, Stuart, I was kind of thinking like maybe we could roll a little slower into the next scene, and Stuart's like, okay, but I mean like the next scene is a weird flesh monster that wants to fuck Barbara Crampton, and I'm like, well, okay, okay, maybe we can hit that set piece and then we can go slower.
Yes. And I mean, I will say I didn't remember the end of this movie going into it. Like I remembered the big set piece of like, oh, it's gonna explode, and then like,
So dumb.
hilariously they do the like, the bomb operates on movie time, where it's like it says it has like 2 minutes, and then like 5 minutes of film pass, and you're like, wait, wasn't the bomb supposed to go off?
And
Like,
it's still got
Yeah.
45 seconds.
yeah, exactly. It's doing the whole like, oh, the bomb has as much time as dramatically it needs to have.
The only time it
but
moves
then
is when it's on camera.
Yeah.
yes, yeah, exactly. But then we had the Barbara Crampton like leaping out of the attic and like fucking breaking her like basically like her knee gets like
Love that.
shoved out of her like skin.
Yeah.
That's how badly she lands on the, and it's such a like gnarly looking like prosthetic too, that you're just like, oh my god, what the fuck? And then like, the cops have shown up and they're all just like, oh, are you okay? And she's fucking like in so much pain, in so much like agony, and also just like mind broken, that she's just like screaming at the end, like scream laughing, and I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, that single practical effect of gore
Yeah.
was far gnarlier than anything in Suitable Flesh.
Yes.
And I adore that decision because from a like a narrative standpoint, absolutely unnecessary.
Yeah.
Your heroine has leapt from the building. The threat is gone. It's the wind down.
Yes.
And it should be the sun rising and going, and now everything will be okay. No, they're like, no, she breaks her legs in the fall. Why?
Oh,
Because it's realistic and fucked up. That's
Yeah.
why.
Yeah, exactly.
Because she needed to suffer just a little bit more.
Yeah, and it's very, and I remember like yelling I was like, did she just, is that her knee? And you guys were like, yep, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
This movie did not shy away from like fucking up its central characters. Like I feel like a
Yes.
lot of times horror movies want to preserve certain aspects of the main cast members, like whether
Yes.
it's for marketing or whatever. And halfway into this movie, Jeffrey Combs gets fucked up. It's like he's a good-looking dude, and it's like,
Yep.
okay, so we're gonna have the movie. We got our handsome, funny,
All right.
leading man, and then just melt him and put a dick on his forehead. Let's
bring
go.
bring out the clippers. You've got no more hair, buddy. It got sucked off by your old boss. Let's
Yeah.
go.
You're gonna
Act
get
two, baby.
bored by the cosmos.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Oh, yes. Yeah. No. That shit was, and just the guy being like, you'll become something that the like world has never seen before. I'm just like, how cool. Like what a cool concept. Where you're just like, this poor guy basically got turned into an eldritch vampire, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I love it. I want more of it.
I think the more I talk about this movie, the more I realize I did enjoy it.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, cause yeah, I very much like when the first time I ever saw it, I was like, I don't really ever want to see that again. And then, now I've seen it with 10 years of hindsight and other films that I've watched, and also having just watched a disappointing body horror movie where it's just like, yeah.
Eldritch nut.
This is fucked up. Yes. So yeah, I think also, James, you mentioned something after we watched Suitable Flesh, which I just want to, bring up here, that like you thought that like Suitable Flesh might actually have been a better movie if Stuart Gordon had directed it, like
Yeah,
from the same screen.
at least that's what I kept feeling. Like the entire time I kept watching the movie, I was like, what would this have been like if Stuart Gordon had directed it? Now, granted, I haven't seen most of Stuart Gordon's filmography, especially his more later stuff. So, like, I don't know if he was one of those directors who got worse with age, because I mean that happens. Like, you lose your
Happens,
mojo or
alright.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, I still wanted to see what this would have looked like with Gordon under the wheel, because like maybe the guy who plays Asa would have turned in a better performance into the hands of a different director.
Yeah.
Fair.
I liked Castle Freak.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, I haven't seen
Yeah.
that or Dagon. And I think he did a fifth one I
Dagon's just
found out
weird.
about.
I actually haven't seen Dagon. I want to see that.
It's a little like, if I describe it as sci-fi original, I think you get what I mean.
Okay. Yeah.
But like, a little classier than that.
Uh-huh.
But it's
Well, listen. The man directed Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the TV show. He can't do wrong.
Oh my god, he did.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
He
that's-
actually wrote the original, I believe.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
He's
created.
credited for the story.
Yeah,
Shrunk the Kids.
Inside us, there are two wolves.
he was actually slated to direct Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the movie, because he was also, Brian Usna also came up with the story for this as well. But apparently, in his first meeting with the Disney executives, he got so stressed out he got a nosebleed and he just walked.
Oh.
He was like, I don't want to deal with this shit.
Oh.
I had a stress nosebleed once. They fucking suck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When your whole mental landscape implodes on itself and just something physically ruptures in your body.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, it's great.
Ugh.
Yeah, but like, yeah, that was my main thing, is just like, I really wish I got to see this under like Stuart Gordon's direction, basically,
Yeah.
because like,
Yeah.
I think it would have been probably edgier, or it would have gone farther in the areas that I wanted it to go, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Plus, also
And
just give him one, because looking at Wikipedia, it says it's like his last film was like 2007, so it would have been nice to have like one more,
Yeah. Yeah, and I will say, like, I don't think Joe Lynch is like a bad director. What was the one that he did that I have seen? Oh, Mayhem. Which, God, actually, that's the fucking second time that Samara Weaving has come up in this podcast when she's not in either film, so wild. But Mayhem's good. Like, it's very like, I mean, there were like two movies that came out roughly around the same time with like virtually the same premise, where it's like, it was like that and like the Belko Experiment, where it was just like
Oh yeah.
a bunch of like white collar office workers, something happens and they all have to murder each other, and you're just like, okay,
Office Space Battle Royale.
Yes, Office Space Battle Royale, exactly. So, which is a fun genre. It's fun, but it's also just kind of like, So, but I liked that movie. So I'm like, I don't hate him as a director. It's just, it is just like, this is very clearly a screenplay that was written with Stuart Gordon in mind, and it's just kind of like, I don't know. It sort of reminds me of how, like, when Michael Crichton died, he was halfway through his last book, and basically like he had written, like, polished like the first half, and the second half all he had was like a really detailed outline, because that's just how he works. They brought in a ghostwriter to like finish it, and there is a palpable switch like halfway through the book where, because I read it, I think is it Micro? It's whatever his last one is, but it's like very clear when it stops being him writing and starts being a ghostwriter, even though, like, you know, the beats are exactly the same as he envisioned. All of this stuff is like exactly lined up the way he wanted to write it. It's just it's not him writing it, and it's like, damn, that's where you lose it. So
Yeah.
I'd say if you're into the 80s schlocky, grindhousey practical effects, sex pervert horror, check out From Beyond.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very much a you gotta be in the mood for it kind of thing. It's pretty disturbing. It's pretty, fucked up and weird. But if you're into that, it's a good time. Yeah. There's nothing in it, I think, that's like overly problematic. I'm trying to think my way through it where I'm like, is there anything that somebody nowadays would be like, "Oh my god, that's way too far"?
It's hard to say. Personally, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Like Barbara Crampton gets a little naked and like there's some tentacles on her for like a half a second and some slime, but
it's nowhere near as bad as Reanimator gets when it comes to like threatening her with unwanted physical contact. But it is still an element there, so it's not as bad as Reanimator, so therefore I'm always like, it's not exactly the same.
That's the test.
Yeah. Yes.
Is anything that happens in this worse than Reanimator?
No, I don't think so. Especially since like they don't even none of the there's like one animal in the film and it doesn't even die.
Yeah.
Yeah. They kind of the dog like runs in and you're like, oh my god, what's gonna happen to the dog? And then it just like licks Jam off the ground, I think.
Yeah.
Jam, aka the Dr. Pretorius's brains, but
yeah.
Oh. Rentsy, you wanna
I was giggling about the penis monster in the basement.
Yeah.
He just has his whole mouth inside Crawford's head.
Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, there's vor and there's penis monsters.
Yeah. And there's tiny
more
dicks.
You need, you fucking degenerate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I mean,
for us,
yeah.
I was about to say for us normal people, there's Barbara Crampton and BDSM gear, but you know what? I'm not normal and I don't pretend to be.
Yeah,
Fuck out of here.
I was gonna say I don't know if any of us can say we're normal. We all watched and enjoyed this movie, all right, for various reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pervert horror, baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any closing thoughts?
Yeah.
James 1, please direct out the Mountains of Madness. Don't just produce it, otherwise it's going to be terrible. That's my closing thought.
I have so many thoughts about Mountains of Madness, but I will keep my mouth shut because that's not what the podcast is about.
No.
I want to watch more of this type of horror.
Go.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. We'll fucking do it. We'll fucking do it, baby.
All right, Hellraiser time.
I don't want to come.
Yes.
This is my. Oh no, Pinhead will make you come.
All right, so what's everybody been up to? I guess let's start
doing?
with. Oh yeah, hey, did you figure out a barbarian yet, Rentsy?
I already told you, Neil Breen and his goddamn.
Well, yeah, you said that off screen. You gotta tell the world about Neil Breen. Tell
you,
the
viewer
world
at home, aka me.
Exactly.
Neil Breen and his goddamn balls.
All right, well, explain Neil Breen's balls.
I don't want to get into too much detail. I come in here and I'm like, oh, sweet. What's going on in the in the Goon Watch over here? First thing I see, fucking pair of balls in the water.
Yep.
I said that's enough for me today. Let me go to sleep. I'm tired.
I am consistently shocked at the amount of use I get out of having a picture of Neil Breen's nards in my pictures folder.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
I got a lot of traction with that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
For those unaware, the context is Neil Breen's first movie, Double Down. He went all out on it. We can see his nutsack.
God bless him.
Wow.
He doubled down on it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I guess that's Rentsy's 2023 Barbarian because we watched it in 2023, and It was a
Yeah.
bonding moment. It was a bonding
Nothing brings
moment.
people closer together than a shot of Neil Breen's dog balls.
Yeah. Well, I guess if you have nothing else to say about that, then let's do catch up. What has everybody been up to since, last month and a half? Don't everybody go at once.
I know. Who wants to go first?
All
Hey,
right, I'll rip off the Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Sounds good.
Because I've only had a couple things going on. Let's see. I watched a pilot for a little something that came out about 4 or 5 years ago. It was like it was a little testing the waters for an animation project called Has Been Hotel.
Oh
And
shit. Okay.
It was a little like 25 or 30-minute cartoon that got put out that was adult themed and raunchy. It's about demons in hell that are going through like a rehab system in a hotel to save their souls. And it finally got the green light and the funding, and it was picked up by Amazon, and they dropped the whole first season a couple weeks ago. And I binged the fuck out of it. It's, I believe, 8 episodes. It's a musical, about 2 songs per episode. It is very, very good if you like/can tolerate some pretty just like edgelordy humor. It's very much like the kind of thing that me in the early 2000s watching it on Newgrounds would have like
Oh,
made my entire personality revolve around this shit.
that is the vibe I got from it, which is why I have kind of avoided it, because I was just like, man.
That's I mean, it's I can't put it more accurately than
it
that.
feels built for fandom.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's why I'm kind of like, no thank you. But
Now that being said, I did very much enjoy it.
okay.
It is, however, one of those shows that I can tell has one of those very aggressively vocal fandoms. There's going to be a lot of fans like pushing their ships and, I want these 2 characters to hook up, and I'm not going to let that, pull me away from how much I dug it. Cause I was anticipating this release for quite a while, and yeah, it took 4 fucking years and the pandemic and all that. And it wound up being really good. A lot of the songs are really catchy. There's a couple filler songs.
It's not the same thing as Hell of a Boss, is it?
Same creator, same universe.
Gotcha. Okay, because I'm looking, because I remembered Richard Horvitz, who is the voice of Invader Zim, is attached to one of them. Like, was it a voice for one of them? And I was like Googling it because I was like, is he in Has Been Hotel? And then I was like, no, he's in this other one that looks identical. So
Yeah,
okay, that's why I got it.
Yeah, same creator. They both take place in the same hell. This one's got a good cast though. Keith David's in it. It's a fun little romp. It's a quick, digestible one. You get it done in like 3.5, 4 hours to do the whole season. So that was a lot of fun. And then, other than that, I'm halfway through watching a documentary series that has been that's been a lot of fun. It's on Netflix. It's called "You Are What You Eat: A Twin Experiment." And this is more of like this is more of just like a documentary. Like, I'm very interested in like nutrition science and the effects of different diets on the body and things like that. And this one has the premise of it follows 4 sets of identical twins and has each of them eat a different diet, one omnivore, one plant-based, over the course of 8 weeks, and then just kind of monitoring the different effects it has on the system. Like, it's a pretty simple premise, but the idea of doing it with the identical twins to like remove that aspect of the unknown factors from the equation is super interesting. I'm only about halfway through it so far. So I'm kind of at the phase right now where they're just like still kind of complaining about their diets and like we're not seeing the medical results yet. But it's a fun watch. It's a limited series on Netflix. It's like 4 episodes and they're like 45 minutes to an hour a piece. But so far it's a lot of fun. And other than that, I haven't really been diving into too much new stuff. Just cranking out them Star Rail dailies. They released their next major storyline update. It takes place in Dream Vegas is the only way I can put it. And yeah, the next major storyline update. It was a heart wrencher. It's one of those games where it's like, oh, look how like cheery and lighthearted, and it's the gotcha game, and
Mhm.
then the crippling existential dread of the narrative kicks in and just leaves you feeling kind of empty. You're like, oh yeah, right. That that's pain. I like it.
Mhm.
But yeah, other than that, that's been about my catch up. What you all got?
Nice. Well, I can go next if nobody else wants to hop in.
Get in there.
All right, so I'm gonna start with movies. I haven't really been like keeping too many tabs on like stuff I've seen. But because I fell off movies a little bit. But recently I watched a couple that were like on my or I watched one that was on my back burner. Found one that was kind of like a really weird kind of like hidden garbage gem for me.
Oh.
And then one I
Yeah.
thought was kind of mediocre. So I The Killing of the Sacred Deer.
Okay.
Yeah, was a movie that I started watching it when in like 2018 or something like that. Yeah, it was around 2018, and I got like a couple minutes in before I realized that the actor who was playing the Colin Farrell's son was the voice of Atreus in God of War.
Oh, okay.
And I was currently working on God of War, so I was hearing this kid every day for hours and hours and hours at a time, and I was like, not today. Someday I'm going to watch this movie, but
today is not that day.
Today is not that day. So finally it was on Netflix, and I was like, you know what? I really want to see this. And we turned it on, and I forgot that like the first shot of the movie is like open heart surgery. And we
All right.
we turned it on, and Will was like eating, and he went, "Oh God!" And then then I turned it off, and then I watched it by myself like the next morning. It's really good though. It is one of those it is one of those movies where like all of the dialogue is very unnatural. Like they all everybody in the movie speaks in a very almost like they're in a stage play kind of way.
Okay.
But it's done that way intentionally. And it's also very it's kind of surreal because only like the core cast does that. And like when you have there'll be like a random side character that comes in for like one single 2 or 3 lines, and they talk like a normal human being, and then like Colin Farrell and what's her face? Naomi Watts. Who am I thinking of? His wife, Nicole Kidman.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, they talk in this very stilted kind of yes, our children need to be doing this thing right now. And you're just like, "Oh, it's weird, but it works really well for the movie, and it's bizarre. It's not a fun film. It's not a feel-good film.
Okay.
But it is very
But who
much
needs those?
Exactly. It feels like a Martin McDonagh play without being written by him.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So it's cool.
Groovy.
Then the garbage movie I found was this early 2000s sci-fi jank called Pandorum.
Oh, yes.
Do you know this one?
I fuck with Pandorum.
Yeah, I was genuinely I started it thinking, oh, I want to watch a sci-fi movie, and then the start of it I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of interesting. Like what's happening here? This is what are we getting into? And then it started getting into more the what's it called? Yeah. When the zombies showed up, I was like, it's one of these.
Correct.
It's very God, I can't.
Isn't Norman Reedus in it?
Is he?
like-
I think he might be
I
actually.
feel like Norman Reedus is in it.
But yeah, I mean, it's like Dennis Quaid, being crazy and like, like, oh yeah, oh my God, he is in it. Norman Reedus is in it. I don't
Yeah.
remember him at all. And then like there's a twist halfway through that's like, oh, like everyone on Earth is dead, and like Dennis Quaid is like, I'm just gonna spoil it for everybody because I'm like,
You're not missing anything,
you're
folks. Don't worry.
you're not missing out at all. But it was just like, what the flying fuck? It's like Dennis Quaid ends up being like he was part of the like original crew that was like, sent to pilot the ship away from Earth. So he got the transmission that was like, hey, Earth exploded behind you. Like we're all dead. Good luck out there. And so
figure it out.
Yeah, and so like he snaps and like kills the rest of his crew and like is just the only one like it's fucking nuts. It's like a much less less grody version of what's the fucking Sam Neill where we're going we don't need eyes.
Event Horizon.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a less grody Event Horizon.
Yeah, it's a worse Event Horizon but a better Ghosts of Mars.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And it's just like it's one of those things where it's like such a time capsule where I'm just like they don't make movies like this anymore, and that's probably a good thing, but I'm really glad that this still exists.
I saw that pop up on the new releases for like either Shudder or Amazon streaming, and I almost watched it a few days ago.
Yes, it was on. I think it's on Amazon.
I came so close to popping that on.
Yeah, I was very much like, okay, yes. And you should, because it's fucking.
Because it's trash.
It's just such trash. I love it. And then the other one I watched, Will and I rented it. Oh no! Oh my God! Wait, no! I almost forgot. Okay, Will and I rented two things. The first one I'm just going to mention very briefly. The Beekeeper. It was
Is that the one
alright.
with Jason Statham?
Yeah, but it's just John Wick again.
Okay.
Like it's nothing special. It's
I'll
just
just
kind
watch
of like
John Wick.
Exactly. It's very much like if you can watch it for free somewhere, like there's some elements that are like cool, but like ultimately it's just, hey, this is John Wick, but instead of like assassins operating out of hotels and having this big like underground like thing, they're called beekeepers, and they're just like rogue assassins who protect the hive, which is just regular people. And it's just like,
okay,
it's exactly John Wick. Like it's just like he gets reactivated, and now they have to figure out how to. It's like, okay,
and
like,
now bees.
Yeah, exactly. It's like whatever. But then the other thing Will and I watched was Napoleon.
Oh my God, that's right.
Which I totally forgot about because I tweeted, like live tweeted YouTube about it. It is terrible.
Oh boy, I get another opportunity to tell everyone listening to the Gooncast that Ridley Scott's a senile bastard.
Yes, he is. He like, and there's so many points. Like apparently, like French audiences were like, "What the fuck, man?" Like, and not just people who are like up on like French history, although there were a lot of them too, being like, "Dude, what the fuck." One of my favorite parts, which a lot of people harped on, and rightfully so, is that he fires a cannon at the pyramids.
I heard about this.
Yeah, and literally hits them, and the hit causes a shockwave that's felt by like the people who are like like hundreds of feet away on the ground.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And I'm just sitting there, I'm like that cannonball had more force than like anything from Oppenheimer. I'm like, Ridley, what are you doing? And apparently in interviews he was like, it's supposed to be a metaphor for how he like how he tried to go into Egypt. And I'm just like, dude, no, you're literally gonna have people out there going, did he actually fire a cannon at the fucking pyramids?
I read an interview.
I
read an interview where somebody asked him, like, Ridley, like, okay, Napoleon is, factually speaking, the most documented military personality in human history. You have infinite resources to draw from. So why did you take these artistic liberties? And he told the interviewer, like, go fuck yourself. And I'm like,
Yes.
is this a hard
Yes.
drive article? Like, no, he said that.
Yes. No, and genuinely it's kind of ridiculous. So like the good thing I will say about the movie is that all of the battles were like historical reenactment, kind of cool to watch, you know, like in a like, hey, like I don't know how accurate this is because I don't trust this old geezer to save my life, but it's, you know, it's really cool to watch people fighting on horseback and with the, you know, like
The director's
generals
cut
in
of
the
Kingdom
background.
of Heaven is like one of my top
Yeah.
20 favorite movies. I fucking love it.
It was like a lesser Master and Commander where you're like, you're watching Master and Commander and you're like, this is really fucking cool because none of this happens anymore. It's really like a little like time capsule kind of thing to see, like, you know, a you know, ship fight like that.
Yeah.
That's not all submarines launching nukes at each other. Yeah, and then but the movie didn't choose to focus on the battles. It chose to focus on like his love affair with Josephine, which was just handled so badly. Like Will and I like jokingly referred to Josephine as the one with the most boobs because every time she was on screen, like if there were other women, they had less cleavage than her. Like she was just always the one with the most cleavage showing. And you're just like and like I'm watching the movie and I'm just like, okay, well, like are they gonna like, you know, like what are they gonna make of this? And it's just like she's not a character. She shows up in so many scenes but does almost nothing. And that's not, you know, that's not a slight on the actress. It's just like the movie didn't know what to do with her. It didn't know how to portray her. And I'm kind of like, if that had been an intentional choice, if it had been sort of like she's this mythic figure to Napoleon, and therefore it's centered on Napoleon and like what he thinks of her, but he doesn't actually really know her, I'm like, well, that could be a good movie. Unfortunately, that's not what you did. Like, if you were trying to do that, you failed. And if you weren't trying to do that, then you extra failed because she's not a character. She kind of just fucks around and then dies of like tuberculosis or some shit. I don't remember.
It's okay. It's okay, Kat. Don't worry, because the next thing he's gonna do is Gladiator 2.
Yep.
It'll be great.
Great. So good. So good. Okay, so then the next thing that I did, book-wise, I haven't been reading as much as I want to. I will be picking up some things very shortly, book-wise. But I did read a friend of Hecate, friend of the show, picked up a manga adaptation of Lovecraft's At the Mountains of Madness for me.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I read it and it's very good. It's from Go Tanabe, who I believe is like a Junji Ito contemporary. And yeah, he's really good. And it's a really good adaptation. I enjoyed it thoroughly. It's only part 1. There's a part 2, so I need to go buy it. But it was good so far. I mean, I knew I wouldn't, you know, that's my favorite Lovecraft story. So like
Sweet.
I knew it would be good. And then the other thing I've been doing, video games. I platinumed Cyberpunk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, finally.
Yeah.
Finally.
So, I mean, you know, spoiler alert for the Golden Roccos this year, I'm thinking it's probably going to end up on the best of list somewhere. I'm not sure where. Phantom Liberty in particular, that was really good. Like that was a fucking DLC. Like I was shocked. I was really impressed. And actually the one of the endings for the DLC held like one of my favorite chapters of all time, which I gushed to Lee about already, but I was just like, this level is so cool, and I know what you're doing. I know what you're referencing when you're doing this, but you did it in a really good way, and it's really fun. But yeah, like the whole thing was just like, I loved all the characters. I loved kind of like the storytelling style really hit for me. I liked how decisions played out. I liked that, I really needed something after Baldur's Gate that I was like, I don't want to just replay Baldur's Gate again. So, but I want something in that vein. And I heard Cyberpunk was good, so that's what I picked up. And
yeah, I'm glad it lived up to. I was trying to really like hold back my levels of hype that I feel about the game because I didn't want to like overpromise and have it underdeliver.
Yeah, I think
So I'm really glad you enjoyed it.
yes, I think I definitely was a little bit spoiled by Baldur's Gate in some things where like
Sure.
I think the romances were not very well fleshed out, and especially the fact that the scenes play out the same way whether you're like fucking them or not, kind of thing, where I'm just like, okay, I think there needed to be, if you're gonna do a romance thing, you need to also allow there to be like a platonic version of completing those quests, you know, so I'm not getting flirted with by everyone. But then they'll reject me because they're not gay or they're not, you know, straight or whatever, and it's just like, all right, guys, come on, just write the characters to be interacting with somebody not flirtatiously if they're not flirtatiously interested in somebody. But and then the other thing too is that we talked a little bit about like there's like the musical element that I think like would have hit a little better for me if not for the fact that I had just played Alan Wake 2 before that, and like the Old Gods of Asgard stuff just like fucking eats the fucking like, you know, samurai's lunch. Like like
Oof.
it's not even funny, you know, like, so I'm just like, but yeah,
They're very different monsters.
they are. But you know, I think that like, you know, it was also like, I don't believe Keanu Reeves is singing right now. I don't believe he's a 30-year-old like rock legend. I think he's a 65-year-old man who looks like it.
That's fair.
But anyway, that's all my complaints about Cyberpunk. I mostly have nothing but good things to say about it. Because yeah, and I like that basically every ending is fucking miserable, because I like that in stories. I like when it's like, yep, you can't win. So, yeah, Cyberpunk was great, and then I immediately rolled into Disco Elysium, which I'm like halfway through.
God.
Because I just wanted more.
I heard you like
misery.
strong narratives.
Yeah. That one so far is very good. My only complaint, which is not even really a complaint, but it's just like I watch and read, or like I play and read a lot of stuff like narratively to kind of try to improve my own craft.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of times where I'll play a video game thinking like, okay, how does this dialogue system work? How does, you know, oh, that's so good. How do these conversations flow? Like, you know, like basically like thinking about like structure, like narrative structures that are in place. And the problem with Disco, which is not even a problem with it, it's just a problem with like how I approach it, is that everything, like it is like wholesale Disco Elysium, you know? Like you cannot be like, ooh, like what if I take out like, you know, the dialogue system of this thing? You can't, because it is like completely intrinsic, like the way the dialogue is written and implemented in Disco Elysium is because it's Disco Elysium, you know? It's like, it's everything it's doing because it's the perfect thing to do for Disco Elysium, for this extremely specific game, which is brilliant. I love how much of an identity this game has. It's just a matter of like, well, I can't use any of this. Like, so this is pure enjoyment on my part. And like kind of learning, you know, what it would, I don't know. You know, as somebody who works in games and understands how difficult it is to get games made, I'm like, the dream of me ever making my own game is dead in the water. But you know, it's like, it's cool that there's still this element of like, yeah, people can still make games that are wholly like the identity that they're trying to get across.
The writing for Disco Elysium makes me furious because it's so good. It has, I think, the biggest laugh out loud moment I've ever had playing a game, where it presents you with two options, and one of them is super fascist and one of them is super communist. And you can give the answer, what if I don't want to say one of these things because one is really communist and one's really fascist? And you flub the roll, and the voice says, you're going to say one of these communist or fascist things or go fuck yourself.
I got to that part the other night and I was like, wow,
that's
all right.
the hardest I've ever laughed at a video game. Holy shit.
It's really good. But so yeah, anyway, that's what I've been up to basically. Sorry, this was a much longer update than I expected, but I had a lot of things to gush and or rant about. So
You had a good month.
Yeah, yeah.
Rentsy, what about you?
I did a rewatch of Game of Thrones
Oh,
the
shit.
last month.
All
Or like
4 seasons.
Unfortunately, all 8.
Oh
no.
no!
Oh no.
It's about like maybe my
Okay.
3rd or 4th time going through it.
Okay, so what are your thoughts as somebody who's rewatched?
I stopped caring about it after season 6.
Okay, okay. Like, does it get better on a rewatch? Like, knowing that, like, oh, this shit's gonna sink by the end.
I mean, I try to go as much as I can without rewatching them so much. I think the last time that me and Tori rewatched was maybe like a year and a half ago or something like that. Or I think we got like midway and then I think we started watching other stuff and just lost interest.
Mhm.
But I think like once like before the final season, we had just like binge watched everything like up to that point, like a month before it was supposed to be out. So we were kind of still a little bit fresh. And then like right after that season, or like, ah shit, you know what? Let's watch it again. So we did. And the same thing with this one. There was like times where like I'll have the day off, and then we would just watch like 2 full seasons just in a whole day. Just go to bed like at 4 in the morning, wake up early, watch it again. Same
Damn.
thing.
Mhm.
Yeah. I enjoyed up to the first 6 seasons. 7th season was it was alright, and then final season was a piece of shit.
Mhm.
I know a killer when I see one.
No, yeah, fuck off with that. Like, I think the first 4 are like perfect television. First 4
Mhm.
seasons are
Yeah.
brilliant. 5 goes off the rails and loses me, but then moments of 6 come back really strong. Like, I think the last
Yes,
few
yeah.
episodes of season 6 are fantastic. I think
Mhm.
the finale episode, Light of the Seven, is
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Mhm.
But oh man, it's like I just wish they had done the Breaking Bad thing and just like known when they were done.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I've been doing that. Also, we came across a 3DS with a capture card recently too.
Ooh.
So I was testing it out a couple days ago with some Ocarina of Time and some Majora's Mask on it, but eventually settled on Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon.
There you go.
Ooh.
Yeah,
How is
and
that?
I like it. It actually plays pretty well on the 3DS. I don't know how the remake for the first game is though. I think it might use like that extra, I guess you could call it the extra joypad or whatever. I might have to use that. I've never played it on the 3DS, and so it's like my first time going through Dark Moon also. So yeah, I think I've gotten up to like a midway point. There's no, how would say, like there's no problems actually streaming on it. It's really swell. It actually keeps it charged while I'm streaming too. So yeah, we got that. It was like a month wait or so. But it's pretty neat. Yeah, there's
Hell
like a
yeah.
ton of other games that I want to play on there, but I probably just won't get to them right now. And then lastly, I started Persona 3 Reload also, and
Oh.
I think I only did like maybe like 2 hours, like just like the little tutorial section, but that's pretty much all. Haven't done anything recently either. It's just like all January was just busy, and then like this month it might start slowing down for work. So it's just like that. It's like I'll have like a downtime, and then I'll just catch up on stuff that I've been wanting to watch.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Oh yeah, and then also started collecting trading cards also.
Oh no, what have you done?
Shit.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
trading cards?
So Tori has like some Demon Slayer ones. I know she wants to get like some Pokemon ones and some Yu-Gi-Ohs.
Ooh.
That's a deep rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Yeah. It started with the One Piece trading card also. That one is pretty expensive. Yeah, so we've just been doing that. But not like, buying boxes and boxes, but just
Yeah.
some small stuff here and there just to see how it is.
Yeah. That's nice. It's a
Mm-hmm.
fun hobby, I guess.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jam?
Yeah, it's mostly been miserable.
Okay.
You've been sicky poo.
Well, I mean, there's that, but like, in terms of media consumption, I have a strong contender for this year's Barbarian, which Lee didn't mention, which is Deathbed, the Bed That Eats.
What?
Deathbed was awesome.
Well, you see, Rentsy, it's
come around to Deathbed.
it's a movie. It's a movie about a bed.
What?
I had to digest it.
It's a movie about a bed, and it eats people that lay down on it, and it's just a series of scenes of people going into this room and laying down on the bed, and then getting eaten and having their bones shat out on the front lawn.
While an artsy fartsy dude who lives inside of a portrait narrates.
Yeah, and I looked it up. That
poor
guy,
man's Robert Pattinson.
poor man's Robert Pattinson is apparently a real person, like an actual historical figure. Yeah,
I believe it.
Yeah. So that's a strong contender for Barbarian this year. In terms of like other garbage, we watched in the Goon flicks After Last Season, which is this I don't even know how to really describe it. It's just other than an incomprehensible mess of nothing happening. But watch it if you can. It's fun for the whole family. The Uninvited, which was surprisingly a lot more boring than I wanted. It needed more barf cat. It's a movie about a cat that lives inside of another cat that gets barfed up to kill people.
It's definitely something where like it works with the riff tracks and
when I think we watched it with the riff tracks and it just wasn't as fun as I wanted it to be. Then also last night we watched The Last Vampire on Earth, which is discount Twilight. Like literally, it's just a Twilight ripoff, but it's worse than Twilight, but it's also funnier than Twilight because of how incompetent it is and how stupid it is. It's also a little more offensive than Twilight in some respects, but I don't want to spoil it because it's kind of a big like film. You're really going there? Jesus Christ. Nothing like assaulty, mind you, as a disclaimer. Just why would you do this, Vitaly Versace? In terms of other misery, hey, the Pokemon Scarlet epilogue was a rancid piece of shit and a complete waste of fucking time that had almost nothing to do with anything from the main game or the fucking DLC, and any narrative connection to the rest of the game you had to figure out by watching a 5-minute YouTube video that Nintendo put out because they couldn't bother to put in any narrative into their stupid shit post epilogue that was just really fucking stupid. It was terrible. So please look forward to Pokemon Scarlet being on my worst of list for the 3rd year in a row. Final Fantasy VII Remake DLC. I finally got around to that, and it's Jesus fucking Christ. It was awful. It was miserable. I hate Yuffie. She's terrible. She's the worst. And then the last miserable thing, which seems to actually be more of a sort of a divide. Like there's a lot more people who like it than hate it, but I fucking hate it. Is Silent Hill: The Short Message.
I forgot I played that too.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this.
Yeah. All right. So I appreciate the intent behind it, and I appreciate that it's an actual game and that it's actually free. Right?
Free.
The OST is a bop, and the monster design is good. Everything else about it I fucking cannot stand. For me, the writing is like Life is Strange bad. And it's not particularly subtle. It's the message. The point of the game is like it's trying to raise awareness about suicide, and that's very important. I don't want to shit on that. I don't want to sound like I'm being dismissive of that. But just because you're covering an important topic doesn't excuse you from bad writing. It's like the movie Cyberbully. That movie's a piece of shit. But it's a movie about bullying and getting bullied online, which is important, but it's a shitty fucking movie. I kind of immediately had a red flag when... So the game starts off, like you boot up and you get your typical horror disclaimer with additional stuff about the content of the game. That's fine. That's fine. I'm then taken to the main menu, and I immediately select New Game, only to be greeted with the exact same fucking disclaimer within 5 seconds. I'm like, guys, are you fucking kidding me? There's no reason to do it twice in a row. Like, especially, like, do it either when I start a new game or when I boot the game up for the first time. I don't need it both times, right? And then they continue to do this disclaimer at the start of every subsequent chapter and when you beat the game. It's like, guys,
Excellent.
I get what you're doing, and this is very important, but this is keeping me from playing the game because I gotta wait for the fucking X prompt to pop up. And I'm getting really goddamn annoyed with this shit. Yeah, the writing's really, really bad. It has nothing to do with Silent Hill at all, outside of LOL, COVID stressed people out, and now stressed people are experiencing Silent Hill-like symptoms, because I guess Silent Hill is a disease now.
Yeah, like a
Or-
curse or something like that.
Yeah, and the game just, like, from a gameplay perspective, it feels like every fucking PT ripoff that has come out in the last decade.
E.T. Silent Hill.
Like, it just plays... It's just your generic walking sim horror game with an occasional puzzle and then chase sequences. With for me, the final chase sequence being the most infuriating fucking
God.
thing.
That was a piece of shit. I was stuck running around for like almost half an hour.
I almost rage quit Rentsy during that chase sequence. I was like, if I die one more time, because it's on top of being a chase sequence, Kat and Lee, you also have to collect items, and you're in a maze, and every time you die, the items are reset to their original position. And everything looks the same, so it's not like easy to identify where shit is to pick up. And you immediately die when the monster touches you, and every single time you pick up something, your character stops moving, and you can't move for a few seconds, and the screen gets darker, and then when you are able to move, you're slightly slower until you get your normal speed, and it's like, guys, this is a one-hit kill chase sequence. Stop fucking with my movement, right? Like, just stop. Just stop.
Yeah.
If this was attempting to build excitement for the upcoming Silent Hill 2 remake, oh boy, did they shit the fucking bed.
On the combat roll.
I listened to Castle Super Beast's podcast about a week and a half ago, and Pat Staresat did his playthrough of the short message, and he had a lot of really good points on the podcast about it. Now, like, he went to school for psychology, and he got a degree in it. So, like, he approaches it from the aspect of, like, looking at the mental emotional health message that is being portrayed through Anita in this game. And his opinion was it's almost like they Googled what the effects of CPTSD are, and then just crafted their character's personality around these different symptoms, like, just to make sure that they hit all of them. Anita is not a character.
No.
She is just a personification of complex post-traumatic stress disorder.
Basically.
Yeah.
Like, not to mention, like,
Jeez.
without getting... It fucking reuses the plot twist to Silent Hill 2. You're going...
Silent Hill 2 is the worst thing to happen to Silent Hill.
You go to a fucking apartment, and it's all fucking spooky, and you're looking for someone, and the twist is, LOL, they're dead, and you're partially responsible. In this particular case, it's like a friend of yours or an acquaintance of yours who is getting... Sorry for spoilers. Getting friendlier with another friend of yours, and you got jealous, and she gave you, like, a note to give to the friend, which was, like, asking for help because she was being bullied, and you were like, no, I'm not gonna do that. So the acquaintance commits suicide, and now you feel guilty because you didn't pass on the note, which could have prevented her suicide or something. And it's just like, can we stop? Can we stop with the I'm looking for someone and they're dead and it's my fault? Can we stop that?
No.
The entire time I was playing this, I was like, because apparently I looked into it. This was apparently actually made by developers at Konami. I think they had some outside assistance from Hexadrive, but it's like it wasn't like fucking Silent Hill 2, which had been made by Bloober, right? Or Origins that was made by Climax. So like this is the first internally developed Silent Hill game in years. And the entire time I'm playing it, I just kept yelling, "Are we sure that this is not the Bloober team Silent Hill game?"
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what it felt like. And it's if you were to remove the Silent Hill name from it and just release it as the short message, nothing would change because it has nothing to do with Silent Hill. Silent Hill is just like fucking scotch taped on. It's like Silent Hill Ascension, where the entire time we're like, what does this have to do with Silent Hill? You could just remove the name. It's nothing. It's nothing. Yeah, anyways, fuck that game. I hated it. I know a lot of people like it. And I know some people like it for speedrunning, because apparently that game is really easy to speedrun.
Me.
In terms of slightly better shit, Power World's fun. I don't have much to say on it, other than that it's like the first survival game that I've played that I actually find fun, because I don't like open world survival games.
Yeah, Power World's super good. Forgot to mention that one.
I haven't played much of it. I've only played about an hour of it. I want to get back to it, but I'm so far very much digging Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. It is a fun Metroidvania style 2D, 2.5D Prince of Persia game. It's good. It's neat. And then the last positive thing is we as a group, we might have watched like one of the best action movies of all time, and it's called Stone Cold with Brian Bosworth. And
Oh hell yeah!
it's Chef's Kiss.
Not with Steve Austin.
Oh, you don't need no Steve Austin when you got Brian Bosworth, the most incompetent hero of all time.
What?
Hell yeah!
Yeah, Rentsy, like, you know how in an act, I don't want to spoil it for you, but I want you to watch Stone Cold, right? You don't have to watch it with the riff tracks, because like the riff tracks are funny, the riff tracks are great, but I think this movie would have stood on its own without it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know how in an action movie, like, your action movie protagonist is gonna like try to save people, like maybe save the girl or whatever.
I thought you were gonna say like one of those one-liner things.
No, he doesn't save anybody. I mean, like, he kills a bunch of bad guys, but like everybody he's like supposed to save just dies. It's great. It's amazing. And I was reading online that apparently, like, I don't know, 5-10 years ago, there's like a screening of the movie at like Alamo Drafthouse or something, and Brian Bosworth was there with his son. And after the movie, Brian Bosworth's kid said, "Wow, you really didn't do anything in that movie, did you? You didn't save anybody, did you?" Yeah, it's good. Go watch it, everybody, right now. And fuck Final Fantasy VII remake and Rebirth. I can't wait to hate on Rebirth.
Hell yeah!
It's gonna be great. Also, please, Nintendo, release more Pokemon Scarlet DLC next year so I can have Pokemon Scarlet 4 years in a row.
Beautiful.
Yeah, all right. I think that's it. It's a nice
I agree.
hour and 40-minute podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
Not a 5-hour fucking nightmare that I gotta get a cameo for. Everybody, Rentsy, where can they find you, and who are you?
Who am I? I'm Rentsy, speedrunner, bozo, alleged cutie pie. You can find me on Twitch at Rentsy, sometimes on Sabers, just bozoing around and listening to the Gooncast. #1 fan. I'm out of here.
Number one fan.
What are you doing here?
All right, and you two other goons, say goodbyes.
Yeah, what's up? The Attack Cat on Twitch. Mostly I don't stream myself, but you can catch me on Saber stream doing like basically a lot of things on Saturdays. We got Bloodborne, we got Elden Ring randomizer, we got a lot of stuff on the docket. We got probably more Corpse Party or something. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, that's where I am.
And this has been your boy Lee Alder, the Valley Jester, the Bodhisattva of Booba. I would say you can find me at twitch.tv/Valley Jester, but I haven't been streaming, and if I do stream anytime soon, it's gonna be Honkai Star Rail. So swing on by.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know who I am. Bye.
Who are you? What are you doing?
Later, everybody.
I'm crying.
Off to the fuck dimension.